Hi guys, welcome back to Taylor Talks Trades. In this week's episode, we've got a special one for you. We're down here in Peterborough at Trade Mastermind HQ with none other than their CEO, Joseph Valente. Joseph, welcome to Taylor Talks Trades.
How's it going, champ? Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thanks for having us here. Cracking setup, looks amazing. Getting inspired by it. We'll need a new studio now. So, but
it's a recent investment that we made. This whole content game, as you know, you're putting a lot of effort and time into it. Is the future, isn't it? And so great for building brands and stuff. But
well, I'll start where I always start, Joseph. How did you get into the trade?
Okay, great question. So look, I was expelled from school when I was about 14 and a half. No prospects. Dad left when I was 13, getting in lots of trouble. I was going down the wrong path. And like many people watching this, I came from a town where many of the people that I spent time with became tradespeople. And so there were some older generations that, had either been in the trade or had started their own business at that time. And there was a gentleman called Darren Boardman who was, 25 at the time, and he had a nice BMW, he had a beautiful girlfriend, and it seemed like he had loads of money, right? So for any 14 and a half, 15-year-old that wants those things, plumbing, seemed to be the vehicle that was going to get me there. So, I said, right, well, I don't want to hang around with these guys, right? They're going nowhere. I've got to change my life and put my energy into something positive. And plumbing seemed good. I like to work practically. I always enjoyed technology at school, never so much the academic stuff. And so I went and approached Darren and I said to him, listen, right, I've got this free time now until I'm 16. Can I come and work with you and learn the trade? I don't want paying, so I'm not going to be a burden, and I'm going to work as hard as if you paid me £1,000 a day, and I want to learn the trade. He said, no problem, absolutely, I'll do that. And, I was over the moon anyway, because he was just he became like a father figure to me, like an older brother. So I really looked up to him. So I wanted to impress anyway. So that was a great motivator. And, that was my entry into this construction world.
Mm-hmm. And then when you got in, what was the steps from there? Were you driven at that point? I want my own business, this is what it's going to be, or was there something that took it to that point?
I mean, every tradesman watching this will know that apprenticeship money's not fun. Yeah. And I think I was getting £80 a week at the time. And, I was running a moped and insurance on that and the fuel. So you're not left with much after. But the aspiration was to get to qualified as quickly as possible, because that was where everybody said the big money was. Yeah. You're 2 years in, you're going to take a load of shit for 2 years. You're going to eat a lot of shit. And then you're going to start making the big bucks. So from there, I actually had a crazy apprenticeship story, yeah? And I went to work with Darren for a year and a half, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And of the year of the term starting in September, when it does, at the regional college in Peterborough, I got in and I enrolled in the college. So it was 1 day a week, to do the practical apprenticeship or vocation, whatever they call it, right? And so I did that. And then fast forward 2 months, in November, Darren rings me and says, Joseph, I'm so sorry. I've fallen out with my business partner. I'm going to shut this business down. I'm going back to work employed. He just had a baby, and there was things going on that I don't know about. And so I was absolutely gutted. And I want to tell this part of the story because I never really tell it, but because it's trade, I think this is very, very relevant to go into the detail. And for any, hopefully, young tradespeople watching this or apprentices, this is going to be one of the greatest lessons of resilience I can ever share with you. Now, back in the early 2000s, and probably now, maybe not so much now because there's not as many people wanting to do trades, but apprenticeships were like gold dust. And I spoke to the college and I said, Darren says that he's shutting his company down. They said, well, we're really sorry. If you don't have an employer backing you, you've got 2 weeks to find somewhere or you're out. And I was gutted. I'd done a year and a half for free. I couldn't believe it. So what I did was I said, right, I've got to hustle now. So I'd get the yellow pages. That was back when it was thick book like this. And I'd ring non-stop through every trades business, write up CVs, go and send them all out. And I managed to get this guy to give me another free trial, 2 weeks. turned out to be the worst employer ever. He was a real bastard, a real piece of shit. Yeah, I saw him in the merchants many years on, and I told him exactly what I thought of him, but he absolutely abused me. Yeah, not physically, but he abused me. Yeah, and basically, he was just using me as his slave. He was making me cut his grass, insulate his loft. He was paying me £80 a week. And one day he had to come and pick me up because my moped got a puncture. And I lived about 20 minutes from his house. And at the end of the week, he docked me £30 out of my wages to come and pick me up. And guess what he did that night? And it was 20 minutes away from the village that I lived in. He took me back to his house. I followed him to his door thinking that he's going to drive me home. He turned around at the door. He says, "Where are you going?" And he said, and I said, "I've got to go home. Are you going to take me home?" He said, "I didn't say I was going to take you home." And he shut the door in my face and left me in this village with no mobile, 20 minutes from where I lived. And I had to walk 2 miles to a phone box, do a reverse charge call and get my mum to pick me up. Anyway, fast forward on this guy. And there's quite a bit to his story, so I'm going to tell it quite quickly. So I don't want to take up too much of the podcast. But he picked me up one day and he said, "I've got a fun job for you today." And I was thinking, oh, right, sounds a bit ominous. But you're going to do the bathroom, you're going to do the boiler. And as a young tradesperson, I'd only been in, I wanted to learn. So I was like, yes, I'm going to get to do some stuff. Took me to House Safe, got me some thick rubber gloves and some big plastic bags. And we went into this council house that he owned. I walked in and it was a smack den. Yeah, there was melted candles all over the floor, syringes, there was feces everywhere. And he looked at me and went, "You're going to have fun in here." And he said, "You're going to clean all of this, you're going to put it right, and you're going to get to do all the plumbing." He knew exactly what I was motivated by. And I remember him walking out the door, shutting the door on me, and I was like, oh my God, I can't stay in here. But I didn't want to lose another apprenticeship, right? And I was seriously considering doing the job. And so I called my mum. She said, "Don't be stupid. I know you want this so bad, but just leave. You can't do this." Call college. And they said, "Now you've told us, you need to leave. It's health and safety. We're giving you 2 weeks to find a new person." So I went back through the yellow pages. I found another guy, £80 a week, the best guy ever. But at the time I was applying for a number of apprenticeships. And fast forward on my third employment, another guy called me and came and saw me and said, "Joseph, we're going to give you 160, not 80. So I left my third employer, thinking that was the right move for more money, but he would have been my best coach. I only ever got fired from one job in my life, and it was my fourth employer as an apprentice. And one morning, I was 17, I'd gone out drinking beer the night before at the local pub, and then I turned up. I don't know why I didn't just call in sick, but I turned up for work anyway, and I was super hungover. And as we drove to the customer's home, I was sick in the van and all over the dashboard. And then I fell asleep in the front of the van, and he took me home at the end of the day, and then he fired me off the back of that. But then off the back of that apprenticeship, Darren called me, and he said, "Joseph, I'm working for this new business. I need an apprentice. Do you want to come back?" Went and worked with him, and then something happened with that company. I don't know what was really unlucky about it, but it ended up shutting down. Me and Darren mixing together in businesses wasn't a good mix. I went and then found my sixth apprenticeship. This is all in a 2-year period, by the way. And this was happening every couple of months, to no fault of my own. Back to the yellow pages, ringing around. And I was giving my time for free, because most people I was calling, they said, "We don't need anybody. We don't need one." And I was like, "Please, I'll come and show you." So they weren't turning down the 2 weeks of hard work. And any youngster watching this, I went through hell to get my qualification, And I would go and do 2 weeks for free. I'd work that hard and be that good for the 80 quid that they would never not hire me at the end of it. So then on my sixth apprenticeship, there was 2 apprentices. The guy was a real hard He was making us work 14 hours. We were contracting for British Gas, and he was treating us like absolute crap. Anyway, one day, one of the other apprentices put something on someone's table, it got scratched. The next day, we went into it, and he told us off for it, because he had to pay £90. He told us off for it. And we went into another home, and they put some brackets, on a table, and the boss went absolutely mental. The other apprentice laughed at him and said, "You're pathetic. I mean, we'd taken so much we'd had enough of it." And no joke, in this 90-year-old woman's house, in the front room, he was on his knees hanging up the radiator. The boss turned around and thumped him straight in the side of the face. He was a big old guy, the apprentice was, and the boss was only little, but the guy was 18, he was about 6'2", and he started crying, the other apprentice, and legged it out the house. Anyway, I called college, and they said, unfortunately, health and safety, you can't work with him anymore. So I was left looking for my 7 apprenticeship. Anyway, just so happened that I'd gone to play football that day. I'd met this guy that I'd met Darren years ago, and his dad owned a plumbing firm, and I said, you don't know anyone, do you? He said, my dad's looking for people. So I said, well, can you get him on the phone? I'll go and see him today. Anyway, I ended up finishing my apprenticeship with this company that was traveling all over the UK, and I was getting £30 a day, and we were working on new build sites, and I managed to get the qualification, but 7 apprenticeships in a 2-year period that was just like an insane journey. If that's not a battle of resilience for getting qualified, I don't know what is.
It is tough getting an apprenticeship, and I went through similar, like you're phoning, I went to the job centre and they gave me a list of everyone in our local area that would give an apprenticeship, and you phone them all and nobody wanted to take you on back then, and like you said, you get a trial, and you go and like I got an offer of, if you can prove yourself for a year, we'll then put you to college and you'll get a proper apprenticeship.
Yeah.
So my trade was roofing, so we had to go out in the wind and the rain, and it was hard graft, it was difficult. So when my employer at that time, he said, you need to prove yourself before you get an apprenticeship, which I think is a good way of doing it. But in your instance, it seemed that you had to really prove yourself. So
it was just like there was this force of nature holding me back, but I had such a will to succeed, and I never wanted to be seen as a failure in this, like people saw me in school.
Why did you want it so much? Why did you want that qualification so much?
Something told me that this was the right path to lean in on, and I knew that the trade sector and acquiring these skills was going to build a platform for future opportunities, and that's what apprenticeship really is. You can go so many different routes when you get that qualification, become your own boss, climb within an organization, maybe teach how to do the technical stuff if you want to. There were so many different routes to market, and this whole running my own business thing and having people working for me doing the trade just felt like my route for success, and I was really excited about that. But I'll just tell one more extension of this story. So on the day that I qualified at 18 years of age, I was working with this company doing £35 a day. I was as good as the plumbers on site, getting 150, and we were fitting a bathroom suite a day. I was doing it on my own. I was as good. I called the boss. I said, I've just got my certificate. Can you pay me now £60? I don't want as much as everybody else. And he says to me, you know what, Joseph? No, you're going to get 50. Just because you're qualified now, it doesn't mean you can start calling the shots. And I couldn't believe it. I was so angry after I'd put in all this work that I was only going to get 60 a day as a qualified plumber. Now, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and the universe sends you signs. That very day, I was sat in the lorry container on site, and I had the sun. Got to the back of the sun, and there was an advert that said, become a gas engineer, 38 grand a year, come and train in Rotherham, on a 6-month course, and you'll get a guaranteed job fitting gas meters at the end of it, and it's going to cost you £6,000 to do it. And there was a Barclays career development loan that allowed you to do it, because I didn't have any money at the time, and I couldn't lean into my parents for investment. So I called them on lunchtime, and I said, how much is this course? And they said, go to get this loan today. And I got authorized by the end of the day that I was going to be able to get this funding. Now, I called the boss at the end of the day and I said, listen, are you sure you're not going to give me £60 a day? Because I'm not working for a penny less. And he said, you're getting 50. I said, all right, well, you know what you could do with your job then? You could shove it up your and I quit the job that day. I took out a £6,000 career development loan. I went home from Nottingham and I said to my mum, right, I'm moving to Rotherham. And then the course was starting in 2 weeks, and I had no income, no money. I'd worked for I was a hustler, so I was always side hustling with stuff, but I had no money, and I had to go and live in Rotherham for 2 weeks. I got in the back of my £700 Polo that I had at the time, my car. I packed a microwave up, and I moved to Rotherham to go on this gas course. And what you'll notice about my story is it's a constant journey of evolution. And I realised that every level of growth requires a different version of skill, and that if you want to make these quantum leaps in wealth and income, you have to do what most aren't prepared to do. You have have to invest in yourself, you have to learn, you have to commit time, money and resources, and you have to take a risk. And so I took that jump, and then within 6 months, I mean, it was rough. I was living off one loaf of bread every 2 days with Morrison super noodles that are about 15p a packet, and I'd go home at night time from the college because it was an intense study program, and I'd have a bowl of noodles and I'd wrap it up in the sandwiches, and I'd have 2 sandwiches. And I was living in this crazy cat lady's house for £5 a night in Rotherham, and she had about 20 cats, and it stunk of cats in there, right? But every morning she'd make me a fry up, and off I'd go to the college. And then within I think it was 6 months, around that time, 4 to 6 months, I was a qualified gas engineer. I got a guaranteed job in London, and I started making £40,000 a year straight away. So that sacrifice, and then I thought, I've been going for so long, I may as well sacrifice a bit more, another 6 months. I invested in me. If I hadn't have took out that loan and put that money into me, I'd have stayed on the plumber's wages. But now I'd gone into a new bracket, and then all of a sudden I made that money back tenfold. But people want the immediate results, and life is all about, and in business specifically, short-term profit sacrifice, long-term profit gain. You invest now for a future opportunity and a future return. So by 19, I was a qualified gas engineer, and I was earning more than the teachers, more than my parents, more than most people's parents. And this is back in the early 2000s, you know, so it was a significant amount more money than it is now, you know, and that was a great thing. So that's my story up till 19 from my apprenticeship. By 21, I was 2 years into being a gas engineer, and I'd got pretty good. But I could see that the businesses I was working for and the companies that were out there, as a gas engineer, 40 to 50 grand back then was like your max income. You weren't going to get any more than that. And I didn't want to do 50 years becoming on the tools, right? And I was starting to get depressed. I was servicing 14 boilers a day, doing the same on a social housing contract. Many of you will be able to relate to this when you're working in this domain. And I was going to work just wishing customers weren't in, just so I didn't have to go and face taking another boiler case off. And I'm very impulsive. Yeah, when I've made a decision, boom, it's done. I'm going to do it right now. And I was like, right, there's no opportunity here for me anymore. I'm done with the UK. One of the main reasons that we got trade is because everybody told us it was a skill to fall back on. Yeah. So whatever happened to you in life, you got a trade, you can fall back on it and you'll forever make money. Well, they're absolutely right. And that's what I love about our industry is it's a high value skill. Across most jobs, it's a very valuable skill. And I thought, right, I've got nothing to lose. I'm 21. I'd always been told that Australia was great. Okay, and I thought, screw this. I'm going to sell up and I'm going. So 2-week decision, sold my car, sold my stuff, okay, gave notice on my job and bought a one-way ticket to Australia. Yeah, and I was like, right, I'm off, yeah, at 21. I went to Australia at 21 years of age. I took £3,000 with me, thinking it was going to last. I found out very quickly that double vodka Red Bulls in Australia are quite a lot of money, and I spent my £3,000 in 48 hours of landing in Australia from going to nightclubs. And then I was like, uh-oh, I need a job. Okay, I called back to my mum. I said, I need you to float me some money because I've spent it all. She said, what do you mean you've spent it all? You've gone to Australia. So she wouldn't give me any. So I had to do a deal with the hostel, okay, because everybody in Australia stays in hostels. I had to do a deal with the hostel that I would do some work for them until I got my first paycheck. A lot of the people from the hostel, and it's quite relevant to now what we do, funnily enough, but I went to work in a call center selling solar PV quotations, because obviously it was massive in Australia back then. This was 2010. And so we were ringing it, and I never worked in a call center environment before or a sales environment. I've been in there for 24 hours. I was top salesperson. They're paying $22 an hour, and then for every 7 that you booked, you got $100. So I was making about $1,500 a week, right, very quickly. So managed to save up the money. Anyway, worked there, stayed there for 6 months, had the best time ever. For any young people watching this, you know, great opportunity to go see the world. You've got your trade, go do it, go do what you need to do. And I came back, okay, and guess what I did when I came back? Went to the same job that I tried to escape.
Really?
Yeah, I went back to the same employer because I came back needing money. I'd spent it all. Yeah, so I called up this guy, Mark, great guy. I said, Mark, can you take me back? Of course I will, no problem, because I was a great engineer. So he took me back straight away. And then within 48 hours, I was back servicing the boilers again. And I remember thinking, oh man, I was a week ago, I was in the Gold Coast. Now I'm in the Grey Coast. Yeah. And I came back and I was like, screw this. Anyway, fast forward to Christmas, my mum got me Lord Sugar's autobiography. And I hadn't read a book for 15 years. I wasn't into personal development. I'd never spent any money on it or any time on it, other than educating myself around trade. But at the time, I didn't almost categorize that as personal development. I didn't know what it was, but I was just learning to make money. And she got me Lord Sugar's book, big, thick book like this. And I read this book cover to cover in 2011 between the 2 weeks at Christmas. The boss that I had, the plumbing company business owner, he was really nice. He'd let us have 2 weeks off at Christmas. When I ran a plumbing business, I didn't let anybody have any time off at Christmas other than Christmas Day, but he was really good, okay? And he let us have 2 weeks off. And so I read this book cover to cover, and from the first night, I stayed up for 8 hours till about 6 in the morning reading it, and it just changed my DNA. I saw how this one man came from a council estate from poverty with nothing to build $1 billion business. And I think you need to take people off a pedestal to realize it can be done for you too. Because many people are negative. They always make excuses about why other people are successful. It's easier to do that than own up to the fact that you haven't done the work to get there. From the wrong town, dad was an alcoholic and left me when I was 13. Everybody thought I was going to be a failure. Stepdad moved in and didn't like him, didn't get the best education, all the bullshit reasons as to why I couldn't make it, and why I didn't come from the right class.
All the times you could have left the trade as well. Most people would have left it.
Absolutely right. So I made loads of excuses, and then I saw, hang on, well, if he can do it, so can I. I almost didn't put him on a pedestal. And one of the main things that I say, I've achieved incredible things, but I am at heart, like everybody listening to this podcast, I am a tradesman still. I still have tradesman skills. Just because I've got loads of other skills and now I wear a suit and I talk about business and sales and marketing, that's because I've done the trades bit. I did the trades bit to get to this bit. I wasn't ever going to stay on the tools. It was a stepping stone to the next level. I was never gonna just remain in that area. So you can't hate on someone that wants to continue to progress and use these levels to get them to the success. And that's exactly how it should be. But your version of success versus my version of success doesn't need to be the same. And if I choose to keep going and you choose to stay wherever it is that you are, that's okay. I think, it's a different strokes for different folks, but for me, it's always about progression. And I read this book and I thought, you know what, if he can do it, so can I. It gave me the permission, to pull the trigger. And I think that's what we do so well at the Trades Mastermind. It's like when we tell the story of how it's done, and now they're seeing so many other tradespeople do it, the amount of belief, we've got a room full of 20 solar businesses right there doing a 9-hour discovery day at the moment, and many of them will come and work with us for 12 months. For the last week, we've had nearly 100 trades businesses go through that training suite next door. And they join because they see, hang on, these guys know the score, they have the steps, but also they are like us. So there's not any reason why I can't now do it. So that belief piece is massive. Took out a 15 grand loan, quit my job, called my boss on the 31st of December. Love you, my friend, but I'm not coming back. I'm going to go start my own thing. Bought a £1,500 van, found the name Impra. Because I never wanted to be called JV's Plumbing and Heating. The reason being, I knew that I was going to build a national company. It was why I started. So I needed to think commercially and have a brand, not a name. And any tradespeople watching this, quick business lesson. People will pay you more for a brand than they will for your personal name. Why? Because a brand represents a bigger business. A name represents a small company. So if you go in with big ticket prices and you're seen as a small person, then they're going to pay you less. Or they're going to think you're taking the piss or ripping them off. So, people buy a Starbucks coffee because it's got a logo on the front of it, a green mermaid, £5 a cup. But no one would walk into a fast food van in a lay-by and give him £5 for a cup of coffee. Why? because he doesn't have a brand. He's seen as a one man in a van, not a multinational corporation, okay? And he doesn't have an identity. So if a person with a brand can get 5 times the amount of you with a white van and your own name, then guess what you should do? Move to the brand. You've had Charlie Mullins on the podcast, good friend of mine, sold Pimlico for 100+ million. Why? Not because he had the best plumbing company in the world. Great company, but not because of the profits or what the company does. They did it because they wanted to buy the brand to roll it national. Pimlico was a 40-year established, well-recognized, trusted name that had scale opportunity. They didn't spend 140 million to buy a 30 million turnover, 3 million to 10 million a year profit company. Yeah. But brand is absolutely key. So that's where I started. I was 22 years of age when I made that move, and that's where my journey into business began.
Yeah, and I picked up on a couple of things there. One thing is, a lot of guys will say, I want to stay on the tools, I like the tools, but it's probably just because they don't know how to come off the tools, or they don't know what the next progression steps are. Because it's quite fairly simple. When you take on an apprenticeship, I go to college, I get qualified, I start, and then I'll get paid this. But the next steps aren't then clear. How you move up that company, how you then go and start on your own. So I think what you guys are doing here with the Trades Mastermind, that gives an opportunity to say, look, there is a roadmap, and it is possible. And that's probably a big part of why I wanted you on the podcast, was to show people that you are actually a trades guy as well, and the suit and everything the way your demeanour is now is because you've went through the gears of personal development and kept bettering yourself, and you've went and found those steps. So I think for anyone who is watching the podcast and wants to evolve and grow, then they just need to find the right steps.
It's funny because there's, people will say to you, you've changed, Joseph. And I say, well, I haven't been through all of this to stay the same. Yeah. Okay. I've changed for a reason, because I wanted to change. But, I'm sat here in a red velvet double-breasted suit. Now, if you saw me on an advert and you haven't heard me speak, you will of course make an assumption of who I am and how I act and what I'm like. But the fact is, when you hear me talk, hopefully you'll come to realize that I'm a pretty down-to-earth individual. I don't pretty it up. But yes, I like nice things. Yes, I've changed the way that I dress, look, and act. Okay, but I'm still the same person, and I still have the same morals and the same values, but I'm looking to level. And I like wearing suits. Okay, I love to wear a suit. Now, I'll tell you as to why. I grew up in a household that was rough. My dad was an alcoholic. He drank 3-4 bottles of wine a night. Every night was chaos, from the evening to the morning, okay? And my dad didn't work. He was unemployed, okay? And it was tough. Every day waking up, not knowing who he was going to be, how he was going to act, what was going to happen. It was a horrible place of anxiety, day in, day out, week in, week out, for years and years and years and years. And so who do you have as a role model at that stage? Do you want to become like your dad and become a raging alcoholic with no goals, no ambition, and destroys everything around him because he can't control his addiction? Absolutely not. Do you want to become like somebody else? Well, most people in that scenario don't have a somebody else. Well, I was blessed to have a somebody else, and my uncle, was a very, very successful entrepreneur. It was my mum's brother. My dad's Italian, full Italian, and my mum's full English. I'm half and half. And so my mum's brother was a very successful entrepreneur, 6'3", tall guy, always wore a suit, had a brand new BMW and a Mercedes, and we had a banged out A-Reg Fiesta or a Sierra with different door colours on it and different panels. It was the most embarrassing thing to be dropped off at school in ever, right? Never wanted to get in that car. I can still remember it today. I hated it. And Tim would come down in the 90s in this brand new Merkel, and then went back in the day when they had, handsets in the car. And the contrast of these two worlds were so... The contrast of these two worlds was so different. You'd go to my uncle's house, 6-7 bedroom house, versus where we lived. And I thought I was in, Buckingham Palace. It was crazy, but because he was my uncle, he was my blood. It was real that if he could do it, there might be another way. And so in my book, Expelled from the Class into Billionaire Boredom, I call it, the 4-year-old's mentality. I knew very, very quickly that there was an opportunity to do both. And my uncle always wore a suit. Yeah, he was always in a suit. So I think I associate, and the reason I wear a suit every day, I associate that success, and it must have done something to me back then, neurologically, that now makes me want to wear a suit, because I used to see my uncle and I just think, that's my guy, I want to be like him.
Subconsciously, it
Absolutely.
makes you feel different, and it lets you portray yourself in the way you want to portray yourself.
It just felt
gives
powerful,
you good confidence.
it felt
when
successful.
You feel good and you're wearing a quality suit, you're going to feel good. And would you say, did that feel difficult for you when you first started doing that, going from being a tradesman to putting the suit on? Or
when I was 22, I didn't own a suit. Now I must have, 50 suits, right? And I didn't own a suit. Every single thing in my wardrobe is suits. If I could wear a suit to the gym, I probably would, right? I don't have any other clothes really. For
anyone who's watching it on a visual, we've got a full wardrobe of suits and shirts over here in the back corner of the studio here. So I was quite surprised to see that when I came in, and I went, I maybe better shape up a wee bit here.
So with that 15 grand that I took out to buy the van, I bought a flue gas analyzer, I bought some tools, I branded my van up, and I bought a £700 website. The other investment I made was a £500 pinstripe Ted Baker suit. Yeah, and I'd never worn a suit, but here where Charlie Mullins comes back into the story. When I was about 18, 17, there was a documentary. How old are you?
I'm 34.
You're the same age as me, right? So there was a documentary on Channel 4 about Charlie Mullins and Pimlico. And it showed how this guy had built this business in London, and he had a Pimlico Bible, and he set standards across his people. And that in actual fact, they weren't allowed to dress scruffy. His whole thing is trousers not round your ankles, but showing your butt crack, and, being unorganized and messy and late and paperwork everywhere, dirty van, typical unorganized tradesman stereotype. And I saw this documentary, and he said, you got to build a brand, you got to do the standards right, you got to stand out from the crowd. We dress smart, we look good, we're clean. And so when I started my company, I thought, and I'll tell you this bit, I bought business cards, as my only marketing tool. And guess who I gave them to?
Letting agents?
No, I gave them to my mum, my sister, and my friends. Okay, and I expected them on the Monday morning when I sat in my van and said, right, I'm off to work. Okay, for the first day on my own. No one rang my phone, and I was thinking, what on earth is going on here? Where am I going to get my money from? It hit me in that first hour that I'd made a massive leap, took on some debt liability, and wasn't sure where my customers were going to come from. Well, I connected the dots pretty quick that waiting for random people to call me to do random stuff ain't going to get me to grow a company. So I needed bulk of customers. And I'd always seen trades businesses outside letting agents. I didn't start the business thinking that this was going to be my route to market, but I thought, you know what? It's probably good to go and attack them. They've got some contracts. They must have loads of portfolio of houses. They're not going to be so strict like social housing, so I'm not going to need all the health and safety, paperwork and all of that stuff that prevents you from getting into the big guys. So this could be a good in, but I can't go in there dressed like a tradesperson. I can't go in my van. I've got to stand out. So Charlie Mullins' documentary hit me, and I thought, right, let's go buy a suit. So I went and bought a suit, I bought a tie, I bought a shirt, I bought an umbrella with a bent wooden handle, and I bought a briefcase, and I thought, I'm gonna look like a city trader, and then I hit Peterborough High Street with nothing in the briefcase, holding an umbrella on a sunny day, dressed in this suit with a tie, a shirt on, and everything else, and I was walking in, holding my business card. I never had any experience in pitching or sales or done any of this. I was just nuts and thought, screw it, I've got to make this thing work, right? I'd walk in and say, hi, it's Joseph here from Impregas, offer 27 breakdown, repair, service, maintenance. I can do, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And I wasn't even asking for a meeting. I was just walking into the agent and just pitching to everybody looking at me because I looked sharp, but I also looked very young. And I remember them thinking at the time, and this is what I clocked onto for a lesson for the whole of my business life, was I saw something in their eyes that day that made me realize that when you dress like this, you stand out from the crowd. And the one thing you must do in a very busy marketplace like trade and construction is not be like everybody else. I dress like this to stand out. And when you stand out and get attention, you don't become like the masses. And the problem is in trade and construction, everybody follows each other. So you're always warring on price because you don't offer anything different at the front end. And you think that selling on quality of work is your USP. That's what everybody sells on. So what they don't buy is what your work standard is. They buy the company that sells the installation or the job. So badging yourself up at the front end, building a brand, becoming a unique identity, okay, having a different way of selling your services is how you win. That's how I built a national business in 3 years. But, you know, I went in and everybody turned me down. 30 agents completely rejected me. Took the cards, said we'll get back to you. No, we don't need anybody. A couple of days went by and I thought, you know what, this isn't going to work. I need to go back. I had no other route to market. So I put the shirt on. I went to my stepdad. I said, listen, can I borrow a tie? Okay, and change up my tie. Same outfit. Okay, umbrella, briefcase. And I went back. And I went to every estate agent and walked back in. And yes, I didn't want to do it. Right? People are afraid in sales because they fear rejection. I am not any different. Okay, I've just had so many years of rejection and people telling me no that now it's just, I'm blind to it. I don't care, right? It's just keep going and going and going and going. But the first time it was like a knot in my stomach, super nervous about this stuff. But you're only one no away from a completely different life. So I went back, 28 out of 30 rejected me. The last one I went into, they said, what are you doing back? I said, well, I just come to see if anybody's called in sick or you need any help. Ma'am, we saw you come in the other day. You were so unique. We've never seen anything like it. We didn't know who you were. Yes, we need someone. We've got so many jobs. Okay, we're overwhelmed. When can you start? I said, I'll go get changed now and I'll go start for you right away. And I got back to my home, and by the time I'd got back, I had 30 works orders land into my inbox. Breakdown, repairs, installation, quote. And then I thought, right, I'm going to try my luck. I got 600 homes on that contract there. Woodcock Homes, the first estate agent that backed me and built and got that was my start. And then I went to another one, and on the way back, they said the same thing. We need you. We didn't know who you were. We didn't trust you. People buy from people they know, like, and they trust. And getting to know people and spending time with people is what gets the deal done. Not doing one attempt and then thinking that they don't want you. They just don't know you yet. So I went back there and I went to that one and I got 400 homes. So on that second visit, all of a sudden I'd got so many contracts and so much opportunity that my business blew up. Within week 1, I hired a 16-year-old apprentice. Within a month, I hired a plumber. Within 3 months, I had an office above Woodcock Homes that was like their storeroom. I cleared it all out and I did a deal for 300 quid a month. Within 6 months, I hired my first office person. And then my business just grew and grew and grew. We became known for being the best reactive service business within Cambridgeshire. I would work night and day. And when I say I lived in my Transit Connect, I lived in it. Okay, 100 hours a week. I was eating 1 microwave meal a day. I would go all night doing paperwork till 2, 3 in the morning, and I'd be back at 6 o'clock. I didn't have systems. I didn't have processes. And the only way to counter the growth that I was going through was to just sacrifice my very everything, my health, I could only get on top of it by working insanity hours. Luckily, I was young 20s, so I had the energy. I couldn't do that now, okay, at 34, but then I had the energy to do it. So we built to just over $500,000 a year by the time I was 25. And this is where the Apprentice comes in and kind of the journey of personal development, investment, attention, and looking to scale my business starts.
Yeah. So will we go into the Apprentice then?
I can keep going if you like, yeah.
So you came out of the... One thing I really picked up on there that's a good lesson for the listeners is finding that niche for yourself, that uniqueness, because that allows you to go from phase 1, just competing on price, to phase 2 as this is what we're going to offer, this is why we're different, now we're not competing on price, and you can actually price work properly, allow the profits to come in, to then, hiring admin staff, getting systems and processes like you said that you never had. And I know that you're probably meaning this as well when you say it. It sometimes does take 24/7 work ethic and just giving it absolute everything, and at that stage it's time for money and nothing else. But you went on now to then be training people to say, get systems, get processes, because if you do that for a long period of time, you're going to burn out. So just a couple of wee lessons peppered in there, but let's go into what happened then when you got pulled out of Impra at the time and then into the Apprentice. That must have been...
So when I was 25, I had a BMW, because in my 20s, I associated success to things, rather than, legacy or achievement or whatever, right? It was things. And so the one thing that I always wanted was an M3 convertible. I had a beautiful M3 convertible BMW. I had a nice house. I had a beautiful girlfriend. And so I'd become Darren Boardman, the guy that I set out to be. Same age, I'd become him. Right? It was so weird, and it was all of the things I ever wanted. But from the outside, locally, I looked like I was smashing it and doing well, and I was. But I was miserable because I was just sacrificing everything, on my health, my relationships, everything. It wasn't fun. I was making money, but it wasn't fun. And I knew I'd hit my ceiling. It was obvious. And when you hit your ceiling in business, the only choice you have is to stay where you are, go backwards, or to punch through it, but you have to learn new things. Everybody hits their ceiling at some point, and the only way to get through it is education. You don't grow any other way. And business is like this. Now see this as the business and see this as you. If your business outgrows you, it can collapse, break, blow up, fail. If you outgrow your business, you should stay ahead of the growth. But if you're not ahead of it, okay, it will start to creak, strain, problems will come in, then you'll start to hate it. So you've got to try and keep ahead of the growth. And if you don't see growth in your business, it's because you haven't evolved in personally, not that your business hasn't grown, because you don't have the skills and the knowledge and the know-how to take it to the next level. So it's just a game of re-education, not in trade and technical now, but learning about business, because you're no longer a tradesman when you own a business, you're a businessman. Yes, you've got trade skills, but delivery and doing the tools is 5% of what running a company is all about. And it takes a lot of tradespeople, some get it straight away and some take a little bit of time to go, no, that's where the money gets made. I go and do the job and I get paid at the end of the job. That's where the money gets made. The tools are just a consequence of delivering the sale. The sale is where the money gets made. The tools are delivering what was sold. So when they see that and understand that, the game can change very quickly. But I knew that I'd hit my ceiling. There was no trade mastermind. I didn't really know about mentors. Content wasn't so prevalent back then, so there was not much stuff on YouTube. And so my opportunity was The Apprentice, a real odd route to market, right? And I'd watched it for many years. I always loved the glitz and glam of the London skyline and entrepreneurship and business. I saw me running a plumbing business as being an entrepreneur and a businessman. I didn't see it as a trade business owner running a trades business. I wanted to be a business person and an entrepreneur. Came into my home January the 9th, 2015, 9 p.m. January is always rough. Okay, anyway, for all of us. In the trade business, it can be hard for the first 2 weeks to get going again, and it's cold, and when you're out on the tools and you're in the back of your van in the dark, that ain't fun, right? I don't care what anybody says. It ain't fun getting up and going into the back of your van, getting out tools when it's freezing. No one would pick that, right, on purpose, right? So I was not enjoying it and I was miserable. And I got out my iPhone and Facebook comes up. Lord Sugar's page, last chance to apply for The Apprentice, 24 hours. And like many opportunities, let me take you back to the time I saw in the back of the sun, that opportunity to go to that college and take out that loan and risk everything. I knew this was another universal sign. This was for me. I needed an escape. Okay, and life will send you these signals if you're looking for them. If you're on autopilot, head down, just doing the same shit every day like a robot on repeat, then you're never going to take these signals. You're not going to see them. Results go where energy flows, and I knew something needed to change. So if you've got that burning desire within you that things don't feel right, or you're looking in the mirror too many times in a row and go, I hate what I'm about to go and do today, then let me tell you, it's time to make a change and listen to it. Okay, it's your gut telling you to make a move. And so I made a move, and 9 weeks later, after going through the show, I was crowned victorious. So starting that business 3 years before, taking out a 15 grand loan off the back of reading Lord Sugar's book, fast forward 3 years, he bought half of my company for £250,000 and I became his business partner. So one hell of a crazy story. and there's much more to it, but I'm just going to go back to the risk sacrifice that the apprentice took. So I had a conundrum. Yeah, I had a decision to make, and I was 25. The lady working for me in my office, Debbie, was brilliant. Best back office lady you could have asked for, but she only worked 3 days a week. And she was in her 50s, so she didn't want to do any more. And I was only allowed to tell 4 people where I was going on the Apprentice, or that I'd even got on before I'd made my final decision. And I went to Debbie. I said to her, look, okay, Debbie, I've got this opportunity to go on the Apprentice, but if I get to the end, and I'm only going if I go to win, okay, then I'm going to be gone for 2 and a bit months, right? 2.5 months. You will not be able to speak to me. Phone goes off, non-communicado, yeah? We aren't going to be able to speak. And but you know, I've got to ask a lot from you. You're the only one who can step up for me. And she said to me, you know what, Joseph? Okay, I believe in you that much. I will do this for you because I know you're going to win. And she said that, and to her credit, she took on running my business. She ran my business. And when I came back 10 weeks later, my business had maintained and done the same. So there was a lesson to say, make sure you hire the right people. At the time when I thought I was going, I was like, I'd almost prepared myself that my business was going to be gone when I come back. But this opportunity is so good, I don't care. I can always rebuild a plumbing business, okay? I can rebuild again. I've done it once, I can do it again. So the risk versus reward was significant. Lose $500,000 a year and 3 years of sacrificing everything about me to get this, to the chance that out of 18 people, this trades business owner might be the guy that becomes a billionaire's business partner, wins the show and gets 250 grand. Well, you know, most people would have thought at that stage, the odds stacked against me. I thought, I'm in. It's mine. You know, I've already won. Before I'd even applied, I felt like I'd already won. And I made the decision, and on April the 26th, and you know, I had about 2,000 homes on rental contracts at that time giving us work. My phone was ringing night and day, 7 days a week. You know, anybody that's worked in that marketplace, no, they want your blood, sweat and tears. And if you don't go to a job when they ask for it, they'll go to the next trades business. So we would be on hand night and day calling out to these jobs so we didn't lose the contracts. It was a tough old market to operate in. But you know, on April the 26th, I sent an email, at 11 o'clock at night, saying, it was a Sunday night, I'm really sorry, my auntie's been called sick, she lives in Italy, she lives in the mountains, on a farm, in a goat farm, there's no Wi-Fi, there's no cell phones, I'm going away for a while and you're not going to be able to hear from me, if you need anything, contact Debbie. That was the story, and I emailed it, and I didn't come back for 10 weeks. And
you would never have known then that trades businesses can run without the trades business owner if that never happened?
Absolutely. I mean, how many of us really deep down are control freaks in business? Most of us. And we think that the business needs to operate with us. Now, there's a difference between maintaining and growth. Like Trade Mastermind, when I step away, doesn't scale. Trade Mastermind, when I step away, maintain. I am the driving force, okay, and I scale this business. That's why I'm here. Without me, it plateaus. When I'm here, it grows. And that's okay, but you need to build a business around people, systems and processes. If I only had one person, there wouldn't have been anything to leave. You know, I had nearly 9 people, so there was a system, And so you've got to have some scale to be able to step away. You can't step away from a couple of people, because realistically, that is just an extension of you owning a job, not really running a company.
Where it happened for me, the change was I had a couple of people working for me. We were quite small, you know, maybe 6 years at most. We didn't have a proper sort of any systems or processes. We were running from the kitchen, and we actually, my wife and I, we had young kids. We just took a puppy on, and this was we just moved into a new build home at the time. The back garden was like most new build homes, they always get flooded, you know, the drainage is never quite right. So she went out the back with the puppy ran round her, made her fall, broke her leg, a really bad one in like 2 places, like real bad. This was again January, shit time of year, like you said, it's hard to get going again, everything's kind of doom and gloom. So she went into hospital, and you know, I'd been the busiest I'd ever been. It was a busy time. I had a few guys working for me, a couple of vans, I was on the phone all the time. I was starting to now pick up all the admin. I'd sort of half come off the tools, but I was half doing admin, half on the tools, half looking at jobs, you know, spread everywhere, just chaos. And when Kelly, my wife, went into hospital, I had to look after the kids. I had to take them to school. We had a new puppy. So like in the mornings, the guys were coming to my house. They had the vans outside. Yeah. They were coming in and I was like, here's your job sheet, You go out, phone me if you need anything. Do you know, I'm like running about like some kind of super nanny or something. I've never took the kids to school before. I'm trying to take them to school. I've got my iPad set up in the kitchen with recording the puppy to see that everything's been all right. I'll go out, I'll get the guys, I check in on the jobs, I come back, I do the school run. But although it was chaotic, I realised, I went, this doesn't need me on every job all the time. So then I went, this is scalable, this is possible. And I had seen, much like yourself, I'd looked at Charlie Mullins, I'd seen what he'd built, so I knew it was possible, even for guys like us, because Charlie Mullins gives you that reachable, he's come from like a sort of not a very good area, the similar trades background story, much like yourself. So that's where I started to go, okay, and then the personal development came in. Someone put a book into my hands called The E-Myth. Don't know if you've read that one, but you know, and then everything just started, the dots started to join really. And that's where, but I would never have known if it wasn't for that, like your opportunity with Apprentice. If you didn't get pulled out of the business, we might not have been able to ever let go. So like you, I'm very much like you, where I've got that sort of, almost like a guiding sort of feeling, the law of attraction, where it's like everything happens for a reason. If my wife didn't break her leg there, I would never have scaled my trades business. Sometimes
the best way to do it is to be forced into that scenario, isn't it?
Yeah,
you know, and that's what makes you make the jump, not because, you know, it's easier when you get to the edge of the cliff and someone pushes you than it is to leap yourself, right? So absolutely. And
another big point. So where you speak about Trades Mastermind and how you're the driving force. So in my roofing business, which is my biggest one, we've started a solar company and it's just in its first year. Good first year, but the roofing business is the main one. Now, I can really relate to what you're saying is I've got someone in each position of that business doing a job. So the marketing's on point, the calls come in, someone answers the calls, it goes to the surveyors, they go and survey the job, they quote the job, we sell the job. We book it in, you know, all the parts that exist, finance, everything. So I've relinquished all of the jobs. However, that drive, that sort of final bit, I just need to be there or the business wouldn't grow. But a really important point, and this one's for the trades business owners, and you know, that is actually a dream for some trades business owners, because you can go on holiday. Like I've seen you over in Marbella.
Absolutely.
The business doesn't collapse. It maybe doesn't grow at the pace that you want. But you know, couple of phone calls back in here with your energy, you know, ramping it up again, it gets it going. So that is the goal for, I would say, trades business owners listening to this podcast. Get yourself to that point where you've got all the jobs out. So when you are there, you can make all the jobs work really, really good, and you can ramp it up. If the marketing's no great, you can get involved in there and push that hard. And if then the sales guys aren't selling it very good, you can get in there and push that hard and all those different bits. But that is essentially leverage. Now, I know from everything you've been telling me here and watching your story so far, you're just hungry for that next bit. You want that person to come in and probably be able to grow it and do that leverage bit for you.
Well, it's funny because I've just hired 2 senior executives. I just hired a head of sales yesterday. He lives 2 hours away, so he's going to be commuting to Peterborough every day. And he's getting a 6-figure salary to join the business. And so I needed 2 sales leaders. We recently hired a head of telesales, great guy we've got upstairs, Richard, who's now got 10 telesales executives filling our events on a loop. His MR was to get the telesales centre up to 20 people by September. So we'll be able to run 20 events a month. That will take our business to 3 million a month in revenue, the training business. And so he's been great. He's real sales leader, strong character, you know, real driving force, traits that I have. You know, they'd been up until him coming in. Most of the people are either operational or technical, and they weren't the driving delivering force. So you're never going to get that. They're just waiting for me to be that, and they're just going to do the delivery. And so that's been great. And then with this other guy, he's come from a global background of, working in big oil businesses and nothing trade related, but driving big multi-billion dollar sales businesses. And so he's coming to take on that role. So, with those guys in and the money that they're getting and the targets that they have, I expect them to be able to do it. They'll never do it as good as you, but having sales leaders eventually, for many of you, this will be quite far on. The first bit to get is the sales people. So you're not doing the quotes. And so the money can be made by you driving them to do it. And then eventually you'll get a sales manager that will drive them to do it. But guess what? You've got to drive the sales manager. So you never should be looking to completely step away unless you're looking to exit. But you also need to know when to let it run and when to push. So don't go on holiday expecting growth. If you know that, your business only grows when you're there, let it be. But great that it doesn't implode. And if these trades guys want freedom, they need to do exactly those steps.
After that 24/7, like you did in the early days, and most of us trades business owners do it, you need the holidays. You need to go away with your family. You've got to go and reset, come back, and then push the leverage again. And so that's an important point to get to. So you won the BBC Apprentice, you partnered with Lord Sugar. Where did that begin to then go wrong? What happened there, and what was the lessons? Or did it go right and then it went wrong?
It went right for quite a good period of time to go wrong. So I won in 2015. We were doing about 600 grand, 500 grand, 600 grand maintenance business. Then by end of 2016, we were doing $1 million a year in maintenance, reactive. But that business was just insane to run. Small ticket jobs, small ticket margin, and high volume in trade and construction of small ticket maintenance repairs, impossible. You're not an internet business, so don't try and sell lots of small jobs. You'll never pay for the infrastructure to make it all happen. It's non-viable. I'll tell you now, don't waste the time. And one of my mentors who's 4 billion net worth, and this lesson's come recently, not back then, but it's relevant, and I share it if I ever go and do a talk, is to build a great business, you need to cut the cake. And that means that, everybody needs to have a slice, from your admin to your marketing, to your health and safety, to your recruitment company, to, your engineers, to your rent, to your overheads, your website, your advertising. Now, if you're selling muffins, how many times can you cut a muffin up and share a slice out? Not very often, right? So it's small, and not many people can eat off a muffin. A £100 maintenance job or repair job is a muffin. If you're trying to sell loads and loads of muffins, not a lot of people can eat. This is why most trades businesses don't scale, is because to grow, you need to spend money on marketing. You don't do it on word of mouth. Word of mouth keeps you busy as a sole trader. It doesn't grow your organization. So if you've got small ticket jobs, marketing costs money. On average, it costs about 150 quid to get 3 leads in any of the services in trade. And if you convert 1 in 3, it's costing you 150 quid to get a job. Well, if the job's a 15 grand solar job or a 70 pound boiler service, I know which one I'd rather spend the money on. On a solar job, you got enough cake. That's a wedding cake. We're looking for wedding cakes. We're not looking to sell muffins in trade. And to grow your business is not about selling more muffins. It's about evolving your product and your offer to high ticket, high margin. Now, some of the trades can't do that because some of the services just aren't there. There's not a systemizable business model. And so at Trade Mastermind, we teach the boiler one because it's 2.5 grand job. We teach the solar one because it's minimum 15 grand job. And then we have a tradesman academy that's built up, a construction academy that's built up of various trades. But if you want to grow your trades business, you need to find an operating model that's scalable, and the reactive, random, loads of different service stuff isn't. So we need to move away from that. Well, one day the sales director from Valente came in and he said to me, Joseph, why aren't you doing boiler installations? I said, I'm not in the boiler installation business. I'm in the reactive maintenance business. I'd badge myself up as a reactive maintenance company, and I'd never thought about changing business models like many people don't. You get so stuck in your ways and you don't see the wood through the trees. Sometimes you don't think about evolving your offer. Yeah, and I knew that serving landlords, now that we had brand new vans, a big warehouse, better systems, better people, didn't work. I was working above an estate agents with second-hand vans, and that worked on a rental model. It didn't work when I was trying to become the next British Gas, because there was no money in the jobs to pay for all of that overhead. So I had to evolve. Now, the trades business, the Valente guy told me there's 1.2 million boilers installed each year, every year in the UK, and I was like, how many? He said 1.2 million. And I was like, well, who does them all? British Gas did 100,000, HelpLink did 10,000, and the rest were built up a regional one-man bands with no brand. When I said to him that day, I'm going to become the next big thing in this marketplace. So it wasn't until 2016, the end of, that I decided to move to boiler installations. So I made the move. We were doing 800 jobs at £100 a job to get 80 grand in revenue. I sold 30 boiler sales in 1 month for 3 grand a job on average, and I got 90,000. Yeah, 800 versus 30. Yeah, you still got to book them, find them, visit them, go to the merchants, maybe get a call pack, whether it's 70 quid or whether it's 2.5 grand. So I knew which model was right. So we moved all of our service engineers to installers, cut what overhead we could, and then moved into installations. And from, from like July 2016 to November 2019, I built the largest independent boiler installation company in the UK. We had 100 staff. We were doing £1 million a month in direct boiler sales and 6,000 boiler installs a year. I built that from scratch in just under 3 years. I'd never hired a salesperson before. I'd built a national sales team. I built the blueprint. I'd created the systems, the processes, and that business could have survived if I knew what I knew now. I'm 3.5 years on from when I was 30, and I made some mistakes through a lack of experience, not through complacency, not through doing anything wrong, not through ripping anybody off. And what many people must know, because there is a skepticism in the market through some trades, like I've ripped people off, and I know I've seen it on my ads and stuff if people say it, and or there's a skepticism that I went bankrupt, which I never did. And I think people think that losing something or how you exit means automatic bankrupt. But just for clarity for anybody listening, I never did anything unethical or unmoral or took anybody's money. And when a business goes into liquidation, the insolvency service come in. They come in and they check your books and they look for everything, okay? And if you've done something wrong, they will find it. And you will be expelled as a director. I wasn't. And their case finished about 1.5 years ago. It didn't take them long to realise I hadn't done anything illegal, okay? And so I've been able to continue to trade as a director. So that should give people maybe a better understanding of it. But yes, we did have to, we got to 2019, we were massive. I spent all of the money that I possibly was generating to get there, okay? And we grew so quick, so fast. And all I needed was to sustain was a next level of investment, because I'd grown. So it needed more money as a war chest to then let that see through. But because I'd only just got there, basically, when you build a company organically in the way that I'd done, if something stops working, you've got nothing to fall back on. And I didn't know that at the time. And we were doing so well, and the sales just kept coming, that I kept pushing. And I overexpanded into some too far. We went all the way to the Highlands of Scotland, to the ends of Cornwall, and we grew massively. And some of the areas didn't perform as quick as I wanted. And when you're doing lead to sale, you need leads. It was Brexit year. It was a warm winter, and I was overexposed, and the leads just stopped. It wasn't that we even did anything wrong. We just couldn't make enough sales to keep the cash flowing into the company. So I was running out of cash at a rapid pace. But up until that point, I'd never experienced it. So I didn't know what was coming. It was like we were just selling so much and growing to the point that I'd maxed the market and I couldn't sell any more. Then the only way to get more leads was to try and war with BG on PPC, and they had more money than I did. So I couldn't battle them, and I left it too late to go and find the funding. And I had some shareholders that would join the business that were motivated for different reasons. I'd made a mistake with some of my advisors. I'd taken a lot. We were having to do nearly 75 grand a day to break even of new boiler sales. I mean, the pressure that I put myself under was just insanity. And I was a young guy. I was learning as I was going. And, it was hard. It was hard. But it was a consequence of my growth. It was a consequence of me putting that pressure on. And I got to the end of the journey and I thought, man, we're running out of cash here. So I had to negotiate a very quick sale, for the business. And I found a business, a much smarter business people than me at the time. And they agreed to buy the company. They agreed to buy the debt. They agreed to buy everything. Take all the staff, buy the brand, take all the customer contracts and absorb the debt. And they told me they were going to sell it all. They were going to invest in it, take it to the next level. And I thought, well, this is absolutely brilliant. They weren't going to give me much for it because of the situation that I was in, but it was great. On the day I came to sign the contract, they said to me, actually, we're not going to buy it all. We only want to buy a little bit of it. You're going to shut the rest of the business down with the debt in it, but we will still take your staff, we will still take your customer contracts, and we will buy the brand and keep it alive. Well, I had 100 people and 100 families that I was loyal to, okay, and I wanted to see them first and foremost be protected and keep their jobs. Then I had all of the customers that had bought from us. I wanted to take care of them. Then I had to shut the rest of the debt down. Well, I had no choice. It was like the last day. It was over Christmas as well, so it was like the 1st of January, so the timing couldn't have been any more worse to pull this thing off. And they played me. And then that's where it came about, where I had made a sale, because there's two messages. I sold the business, the brand, the assets, the team, and there's a liquidation. So there's two stories to that same story that people might not quite get. And the reason that the other liquidation bit came was because I had to sell it in the way they played me to close it down. Not because I was meant to do that, because I had to do that. And yes, people lost money. But when you close a business down, and this is a really important part to know, the creditors get to come and you have to sit on a desk like this and you have to sit in front of a room full of people. Plum Centre were there, Graham's were there, local merchants were there, and some recruitment businesses and so on, right? And listen, I am a good guy. I've worked very hard. I never set up in business to screw anybody. That's not my style. I'm in business to do great things, take care of my family, help people, level them up, see them to win, and change my life from where I came from, right? So there was nothing unethical that I did. And it was hard. It was horrible that happened, but everybody lost, including myself. And I said to everybody in the room, because everybody comes with pitchforks. They want blood, if they've lost money, especially if they're their own business. The guys in the plum centres and stuff, they're multi-billions. They don't really care about a few $100,000. They're not that bothered, right? They come anyway, okay? And some of them were pissed off, but the fact is, I said to them all, when we sat down together in every scenario where you backed me with credit or payment terms, you knew that this business was growing fast. I told you that we were going to go to the next level and grow rapidly. And with a scaling business that grows quick, there's risk associated to it, as you all know. So if you didn't want to lose, then you shouldn't lose what you've lost, then you shouldn't have given what you gave to make that happen. You've got to take some accountability as well. It's not like I badged it up in a way that fast growth isn't risk. And if you didn't know that, that's your own naivety. So don't come and hate on me now, because when everything was going well, when I was buying thousands of pounds worth of product and service and everything else, or you wanted to take jobs, or you wanted to do this, you were all up for it and you're all my best friend. Now that it's all gone wrong for various reasons that are out of my control, because let me tell you this, my uncle once said, one thing you can't control in business is the market. When the market changes or the market slows, you're left carrying the can. So you better make sure that you are a good leader that can see the market way before it changes. And so that was a great lesson, but I said to everybody this is the case, and some people understood it and some people were probably still very, very annoyed, but it was a hard. Throughout my 20s, I'd won the Apprentice. I'd launched a best-selling book that sold thousands of copies. I was in Forbes 30 under 30 out of 18,000 candidates in Europe. I won every award that was out there. I launched 2 podcasts that went to #1 in the world in business. I'd, built an 8-figure boiler business. We won National Installer of the Year. Everything I touched turned to gold. And if you go back through any entrepreneur that shoots big, they will tell you the same story. And there's a lesson, because I'm 34 now. I'm not in my late 20s or in my 20s. I'm a different guy. I'm a much more seasoned sailor than what I was. And one of my mentors, another billionaire, who's failed many, many times, said to me, the mistake that you made was you bought your own hype. You started to believe that you were too good. And that you almost, when you think you're too good, you start to miss what can go wrong because you get complacent about success. And he's absolutely right. But the fact is, I was complacent, but I was also uneducated at building a national business. When you do something for the first time, it's the first time. So of course it can go wrong. If it's your first rodeo, you don't know what's going to come. This is why the Trade Mastermind has been so successful, because we're selling a solution to the problem that I faced as a tradesman growing, which was that every stage of the game, I had to reinvent myself or learn about stuff to take it to the next level. And when you screw up, it's because you don't know. Because if I went back and built a national boiler business now, I'd be able to do it in 1/10 of the time and I'd know what went wrong. I didn't choose to do it again. I chose to teach it to help other people do the same. And so, at 30 years of age, I found myself, in a position where I built this national company that I expected to exit for millions and millions and millions of pounds. And I came crashing down, and I didn't get the exit that I wanted. And I also got a big L on my record. I think one of the biggest things, and then I took it personally. Now I've built an 8-figure training business. We'll do 1.2 million in training programs this month alone. And it's taken me 3.5 years to get back to $1 million a month. I hire 35 people, train thousands of trade businesses. So, my skills as an entrepreneur that were hit so hard for all of them people that laughed at my downfall for a period of time, those guys ain't so vocal now because of what we've been able to do, achieve and grow. And so I've proven myself. I'm back. I've done very, very well and helped many, many people along the way from my pain, and my hurt and my failures have helped so many others to not go through the same process. So I think that's a pretty good thing. But listen, don't shoot big and then cry when you lose, because, the fact is, if we shoot big, we can lose big. So we all know the game that we're playing. And I was upset for a period of time. About 2 weeks, it hit me hard, like a smack to like a knockout blow to the jaw, that everything I'd spent my life doing and worked so hard on almost went overnight. And I wasn't even so bothered that the business was gone. I was bothered that all the people, because, when you go on a show like The Apprentice, there was a lot of people that loved me and they bought my story and said, this guy's a hard-working guy, I come from nothing, like he deserves all of this, he's delivering it. And there was other people that went, that guy's won The Apprentice, who does he think he is, blah, 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 right? So you get lovers and you get the haters. The bit that pissed me off so much is that so many wanted to see me fail, okay? So many wanted to see me succeed. I let the people down that wanted to see me win, okay? And I gave the people that wanted to see me lose the satisfaction to laugh for a period of time. And for 2 weeks, I was depressed big time. I was demotivated. I didn't want to get up. Every time I put my phone on, there was some article or something coming out. It was real tough. And I've been through it now, so I am bulletproof. I mean, bring it on, right? There's nothing that can be said that I can't take. So the fact that it's happened is probably a good thing. Losing it at 55 is a hard recovery. Losing it at 30, you've got lots and lots of runway left to bounce back. But it was hard. And you are going to fail in life. Businesses do come and go. But if you stay there and wallow in self-pity or regret, or you let people pull you back, then that's true failure. Real success is not about winning big. It's about going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. Yeah, that's a Winston Churchill quote. It isn't mine. And Lord Sugar did me another favor. He comes into my life, every few years and does something. And one of the articles he retweeted on Twitter, I mean, I couldn't believe it at the time, but if you ever see this, I thank you so much for what you did for me. And I was in bed, and my PA sent it to me. She said, Joe, look, this is what Lord Sugar's retweeting. And we were just starting like Trade Mastermind coming out. And he retweeted the article and he said, you can't win them all. And now this guy thinks he can teach businesses at the Hilton Hotel. So just mocking me, Ryan. And honestly, the fire that hit me then, I jumped out of bed like an eagle like a phoenix rising from the ashes. My body set on fire and I thought, you, right? Watch what I'm about to go and do now. Yeah, so I've spent the last 3.5 years going to war. Yeah, we have been to war to build this company to the level that it's at. And it's all down to him telling me that I couldn't do it. I didn't give a shit about anybody else and what they said about me. Yeah, it grind on me for a little bit, but I'd had years of it from the Apprentice anyway. I was kind of used to it. There was a little conglomerate of tradespeople for quite a while, especially in the plumbing sector. They used to jump on my tweets and give me grief. I was used to that stuff from that little gang of people, and so it didn't bother me. But what bothered me was the guy that I loved so much saying it about me and thought that I was a loser. That's kind of how I saw it, and I thought, right, I'm definitely not one of those guys, right? So let's go and see what I'm made of. And I didn't know if I was a one-trick pony. I didn't know if I only knew about trade and construction. And the training business is completely different market, different products, different advertising, okay, different mechanics, the whole thing. But you know, what a journey it's been from the last 3.5 years. I've got to say, it's been, you know, to sit here now and to be saying that we're doing $1 million a month. I always knew we would be back. I knew we'd be successful. I didn't know how many tradespeople we'd actually be able to help. I didn't know my training programs were going to change people's lives and get them to go from a couple of 100,000 to millions and millions of pounds in sales. Some of them have sold their businesses, you know, changing lives. But I did know that tradespeople were tradespeople running businesses, not business people running trades businesses, and that plumbers start plumbing businesses, electricians start electrical businesses, and builders build houses. And that if they were going to do what I was doing, they were going to make the same mistakes. And when they learn business, they become a different beast, because it's a business job that you've got now, not a tradesperson's job. And yeah, that's kind of been my business life all the way up until 34 years of age, which I am now.
Packed in quite a bit there.
Yeah.
It's a fine line between success and failure, where if you'd exited that business in just a slightly different way and they hadn't probably, you know, restructured that deal at the end there, then you would have exited the business and that would have been seen as a success.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Would you have then still went on the same journey you're on?
I was 100% going into...
So the story would have been, here's how to exit your business, rather than still you're teaching that message, but you're doing it with saying, this is the mistakes I learned, this is how you can avoid.
In a strange way, Jamie, the negative exit got me way more attention than the positive one. Yeah. If I'd have done it positively, someone would have gone, well done, congratulations. And you know how many people, do you know how hard it was? Or, you know, I would say to myself, how much balls I've actually got to, off the back of that, to go out to market and start saying that I'm training businesses now. The first year, it would be literally 50, 60, 70 to 100 comments. Who do you think you are? You can't train businesses. Didn't your business go bust? What do you know about business? And gradually, slowly but surely, they start to fall off because they watched everything else that was happening. And that was tough. That was real adversity. But I was going into personal development anyway. Here's as to why. Personal development got me to CEO level. Yes, I made some mistakes at the end, but I built a company like no one's ever built in the time that no one's ever done it, in the hardest business to run. Trade and construction is the hardest business to run. Fact. Because you've got so many moving parts. You've got an office, you've got tradespeople, you've got materials, you've got tech, you've got surveys, you've got retro houses that are all different. You know, you've got sales teams, marketing. It's difficult. This business is half of what it takes to run a trades business. I've got nobody out there doing jobs in the field right now. All my people, the 35 of them, are in this building. I have to worry about, you know, basically another business. Then if you get sales teams, that's a third business out on the road. So it's so much easier. But I was going into personal development because personal development changed my life. I love education. I advocate for education. I spend $250,000 a year on my personal development. I spent $1 million plus on my training since the age of 22. I am the product of the product. I practice what I preach. I spend big, and I surround myself with winners and mentors and masterminds, because that's what's changed me. I didn't get there by not investing in myself and showing up every day and working hard. Working hard got me to the point where I nearly had multiple nervous breakdowns over that period of time. Working hard does nothing. Working hard is only valuable if you work smart. And working smart in business is about working on it and working in it. We have to spend 80 to 90% of our time working in our companies, and then we have to spend a good percentage of our time working on it. But you're only going to work on it when you're a small business, in the mornings or in the evenings, because between 9 and 6 your company's open, you're running the day to day. And then as you get bigger and get more people, like now I always work in a future state. The company runs whether I'm here or not here. I don't get involved in the day-to-day. I work in future state, which is about growth. So, and that's a choice. It doesn't have to happen. So it takes a bit of time to build that infrastructure and resources to be able to get there, but that's where it is. I can't stand the day-to-day. I don't like talking about the day-to-day because I feel like I'm wasting my value to the company. Yes, I can organize anything. I'm a great operator, but the fact is, if I have to set up events, organize events, do administration, do invoicing, be involved in debt chasing or any of that stuff, then the value as a CEO is wasted. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like they're easy tasks to pay and offload if you've got a business model that can allow you to pay and offload. But if you're selling muffins, you'll never be able to hire those people. You've got to sell wedding cakes, so there's enough to share.
Loads packed in there. Really appreciate it. What's next?
Okay, what's next? Well, naturally, the trade and construction market is one that we are pioneering in development. I mean, the businesses that we're sending back into market, we are raising the standard in the trade sector. I think combined our business has helped now nearly 3,000 trade business owners to be able to grow, build their brand. On average, Trade Masterminds helps these companies grow by 400% in revenue. Each business that we get hires at least 1 to 10 more employees. So we've created so many jobs for the economy. We've helped businesses to grow so much from a sales and revenue point of view. And we will be expanding our products and services range to become a one-stop shop for trade and construction business owners. We've had lots of trial and test over the years with Trade Recruit and Trade Finance and Trade Digital and more, and we'll be expanding those services. We've recently launched Trade Pod, which is an agency to help trade business owners build their own podcasts and content and YouTube. So that's going to be pretty cool to roll out. That's why we put all of this investment in here. And then the next progression for us is to move into all business. So we're going to move the training into the whole business market in the UK, because what I've come to realize is that whether it's construction, whether it's hairdressing, dentists, accountant, recruitment agencies. People start businesses because they're good at the job. They don't know about the fundamentals of running a business. It's not just trade business owners. It's every business that goes through the same thing. But the ones that make a difference are the ones that realize that and start learning about the high value skills to run a business. That's sales, marketing, finance, and operations. It isn't doing the delivery element. And there's 5.5 million businesses in the UK. There's 330,000 construction businesses in the UK. So the natural progression is, because eventually we'll hit our ceiling on how many training programs we can run, is to move that training into the mass market opportunity and roll out. But Trade Mastermind will still be, it won't evolve into another brand. It will still be one that focuses on construction. I'm looking for scale. I'm looking for growth. I'm looking to add insane value to the market. I think there's a standard that every business owner needs to get to. I want to prevent companies from failing, and I want to help companies to scale. I love this marketplace because for me, personal development's changed my life. And I believe that, knowledge gained is knowledge shared. Each one teach one. You've got to reach back and pull somebody else up. That's how collectively society grows. People get better because of the knowledge that becomes available. So you're almost leveling up a whole industry by giving them the skills, because trades business owners naturally follow the wrong blueprint. They don't follow a blueprint to building a business. They follow the blueprint that they got from the person that they left, that they tried to leave because they wanted to do it better. I left my company at 22 years of age and wanted to do it better, but I set up how they set up. So I was almost going down the same road, unorganized, inefficient, no marketing strategy, no sales activity, not knowing the numbers. So my advice to everyone listening is come and join the Trade Mastermind, come down to one of our free days. But more importantly, just understand that you've got to learn about business if you want to be successful, not be a tradesman running a trades business.
Awesome, mate. You've packed in plenty of content. Thanks very much.
Cheers, champ. Thanks for having me.